Hello, BookTube. Sorry for my absence the other day. I had a fussy puppy, and it was a situation that I've never encountered before with a dog. This little terrier is taking me into strange new worlds of dog ownership, and the fussiness for a while there seemed to be tipping over into life-threatening. Is there something wrong with this dog that she's simply not eating solid food? Just absolutely not eating any solid food day after day after day. And all of my instincts, all of my knowledge of dogs was telling me, no, you can examine her teeth, you can feel and listen to her abdomen, you can, you know there's nothing physically wrong with this dog. She doesn't have an intestinal blockage, she doesn't have a virus, she doesn't have an abscess on her teeth, she doesn't have worms. And I know that in the most direct way you can find out whether or not a dog has worms. I have no shame. I'm certainly not going to scruple if my little Fraulein's on the line. But that preoccupied me and actually worried me to the point where I was thinking of nothing else. And the problem it appears to have started solving itself. A couple of people who are familiar with schnauzers, with mini schnauzers, terriers just in general, were telling me at the beginning, you just don't have any idea how stubborn these dogs are. You just don't. If you've had other kinds of dogs, including beagles, who can be pretty stubborn, you just have no idea. It's a whole nother order of magnitude, and that is probably what's going on here. And I discounted it. I admit, I discounted it. I didn't think there was any way that a really hungry dog would stare at a bowl of food and ignore it just because they feel they're holding out for something better or something different. But whatever the reason was, a small, imperceptible indisposition that was working through her body or whatever, she's finally started to eat again. Not anything like what I would consider healthy with a dog, but it isn't affecting her at all in any way. It isn't affecting her bowel movements. It isn't affecting her personality. It isn't affecting her friendliness, her inquisitiveness, her energy levels in any way. So maybe she just doesn't need as much food. Nobody needs as much food as an 85-pound basset hound, but she might be it's a new world. Long opening, tedious digression being finished here. It's a new world, and that was what took me away from our conversation here, is that's the only thing it ever will. Work won't. I'll always find a reason to chat with you, even if I've got a ton of work to do. A company, almost certainly I can find the time, or I can draft them into being on camera themselves. The only thing that's ever really going to take me away is right at the heart of my life. The only part of my life that's closer to the essence of my life than books and reading and writing. There's only one part of my life that is, and she's it. So so I apologize for disappearing. I know I offer the apology not because I think I'm all that and a bag of chips, but because I know there are quite a few of you who like seeing me in your subscription feed. And I've had stories of people who, wait and watch with their kids, who wait and watch with an elderly parent or whatever. And I take that very seriously. I'm very honored by it. I'm touched by it. And I don't like the thought of you getting to the end of a hard, what's the phrase again? Work day? I like the idea of you getting to the end of a long work day expecting that little bit of happiness and not getting it. And plus, I really enjoy these little conversations, which is why you're being bombarded today. But I have a mail haul here, just to get back on the mail haul carousel. It's only 2 packages, but I figure we'll start slow. And they're very different. One is very thin and one is very thick. So the thin one could be a dreaded thin volume of poetry. That'd be a dismissive way to start. No, it's not. It's not a thin volume of poetry. I don't think I've requested this. What is this? What have we got here? This comes out in September. Good Lord. I don't want September to get here. I don't want September to get here. September will be cold. I don't want cold weather to come back to Boston. Ever. September will be cold again. Oh, God, and September will also be in the middle of hurricane season. I dread hurricane season this year. I just dread it. I know a lot of people, especially if you have electricity, or if you don't live anywhere near the path of destruction, a lot of people are tending to forget what the 2017 hurricane season was like. It was one for the record books, and there's no reason why that won't happen every year from now on. But anyway, this is from the Other Press. This is called Another Life, on Memory, Language, Love, and the Passage of Time. And it is by Theodore Kalafatides. How does one deal with a severe case of writer's block at the end of a lengthy, prestigious literary career? And what is there left to say to a world that changes so quickly and challenges your relevancy with each passing day? Celebrated novelist, essayist, and poet, here we're going to get another chance at this, Theodore Kalafatides, explores these dilemmas in his philosophical memoir. Oh, philosophical memoir. I like the sound of that. Examining the liminal spaces between language and ideology, homeland and immigrant experience, democracy and anarchy, the local and the global, the history and the present. He ruminates on his own aging and the way it affects his writing. He observes the chaotic, combative Europe that surrounds him and contrasts it against his everyday routine with Swedish and Greek friends who keep him grounded in simpler, more stable time. Oh, this sounds good. This sounds good. I confess, there was a tiny hint of navel-gazing there at the beginning. Oh, he's 77 years old. And he's had an illustrious literary career that I know nothing about. Wow. Okay. Great. Okay. Nobody should write after age 75, a friend had said. Oh, God. Let's not talk that way. At 77, struggling with the weight of writer's block, the author makes the difficult decision to sell the Stockholm studio where he diligently worked for decades and retire. Unable to write, yet unable not to write, he travels to his native Greece in the hope of rediscovering the lost fluidity of language. Okay, well, he's older than I am, and he's been around the block more than I have, so I'm not going to lecture him, but there's no such thing as writer's block. Okay? If I could generate prose in the week that I just had, then anyone can generate it under any circumstances. And I won't even go into deeper levels of guilt inducement. But I could. Some of you, the handful of you who watch this who know me in real life, will know the conditions under which a couple of my unpublished novels were written. And there's also Anthony Trollope. Okay? There's always Anthony Trollope, who never stopped writing, even though he had a demanding wife, a family, a full-time real-world job with lots of real-world responsibilities, and a deep love of fox hunting. Still generated an entire bookshelf of books because he never stopped writing. Okay? Because he made a discipline out of it, which is the only thing that it is. But anyway, that is The Little Book. It's not a slim volume approach. It's an intellectual memoir. It sounds fascinating. Then we'll do this big one. I don't know if there'll be more mail today. I'm kind of hoping. All right. This comes out any day now. This is Alison Weir, the next big volume in her Tudor Wives series. She's doing one huge novel every year about all the wives of Henry VIII. And this is Jane Seymour, the wife that he loved the most, and the mother of his only legitimate male heir, King Edward, who made the very wise career decision to die in childbirth. So she didn't stick around to cause trouble and get her head chopped off instead. But I don't think that would have happened. Oddly enough, I think that Henry actually did love her, and that if she had lived, Edward would have had siblings, and there would have been no other wives. There would have been no wandering eye. I don't think any of that would have been true. And she's a tough subject for historical novelists. Of course, those of you who read Wolf Hall and Bring Up the Bodies by Hilary Mantel will remember her. I think the portrayal in those pages is a lot closer to what Jane Seymour probably was like. The Seymours were ruthlessly ambitious. To say that she was this willowy, otherworldly, pure and perfect creature in the midst of such a family is stretching things quite a bit. In Hilary Mantel's handling, she's a kind of an icy, prototypical mean girl. I think Alison Weir is a more pious author than that. I think her take on Jane Seymour will be far more along the usual lines of a creature too good for this world, pure and simple, who ignited an innocent love in an otherwise worldly and concupiscent monarch or something along those lines. But we shall see. I have liked some parts of these books, and I have hated other parts of them. So, and Jane Seymour is great. I can't wait to see if Alison Weir actually manages to make a book this big out of all the other wives. I just can't imagine you could make a book this size about Catherine Howard. And what on earth you do with Anne of Cleves? I don't know. A really brave Tudor historical novelist would have Anne of Cleves' betrothal, trip to England, marriage to Henry, and split from Henry and rustication into the country as his sister be the last chapter in a historical novel about her, all of which would be about other things. But there aren't any novelists brave enough to do that. But this is great. That's fantastic. I haven't had much Tudor fiction this year at all. This will be my first major dose. That's great. All right, so we have a very small pile this time around. A thin intellectual memoir and a great big historical novel. So that's it for now. I will wrap this up. If I get an interesting mail haul later on, I'll share it with you. But otherwise, I'll let you up off the wrestling mat here. Thank you, BookTube.